Hello, Ray Lee with Speedboat Magazine here with another episode of the Boats and Bros podcast. And today we are lucky enough to have Performance Boat Center's owner, Mark Waddington, with us. How you doing, Mark?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. Well, Myrick, this is your boss.
Yeah, I get to see him all the time.
I don't know if I'm his boss. I think that usually he tells me what to do.
Yeah, right. But no, it's definitely a partnership, as a lot of Performance Boat Center is, and Performance Powerboats. I mean, we're always bouncing ideas off of each other and trying to make the product and our customers as good and as happy as possible. So
Yeah. Well, for years, I mean, Performance Boat Center, we always consider it like the mecca of all, dealerships and boat centers. It's insane. And if anybody hasn't been there yet, you gotta go check it out. But let's start from the beginning. Mark, how did you start Performance Boat Center?
Performance Boat Center started literally at a delivery of a 405 Baja that I had ordered from Brett Manier. And he literally, we went to a small lake in Nebraska to test it out on delivery. And we were sitting there talking that evening together just around the boat. And I just told him, I said, hey, if you ever want to get into the boating business with somebody, give me a call. And I can't remember, that was probably 2008. And about a year and a half or so, he called me and said he was down in Lake of the Ozarks. He had a new job down there, and there was an opportunity down there, and started talking to me about it. And before we knew it, within probably 6-7 months, I bought the assets off of Performance Brokerage, and then we renamed the company Performance Boat Center and started a new company. So
Wow.
I was like 4 or 5 employees.
yeah, they were coming in on my turf down at the lake at the time.
Yeah. Oh, I remember when we were talking about who knew cats in the market, and across the whole country, to be honest with you. And Myrick was the top 3 or 4 names that came up. And I'm like, well, I want to meet this Myrick guy.
Yeah, we were only a couple miles apart by, as the crow flies. But yeah, it was they came over to the shop, and rest is history.
Which shop were you working at that point?
12-mile marker, Naughty Marine for Dave Scott. And we didn't have a whole lot of customers. We might have had a dozen. And it's after we had lost our sponsorship with Anheuser-Busch after the 2008 mess had happened. And so just basically, services only is tough, and just kind of going through the paces of trying to make a paycheck and keep our customers happy. And, since being around the big high-end race boats all the time, I had knew about them. So, just basically had 3 or 4 employees, Lance, which is still a part of it. Craig Antmeyer at the time, which now is a part of another team. We had Keith Ferguson, which he's went off on his own. And so basically they were wanting to broaden their service department and CAT experience. And, I think it's almost 10 years later. I mean, I've had kids since then, and they're walking around, and all
elementary school telling them what to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the timing was perfect, right? Everything.
Yeah,
it was an odd scenario because it was, you had they were a family. I mean, Naughty Marine was a family and of people, and Dave Scott was like, I'll sell, or I'll let you have Myrick come work for you in the team, but I need your promise that you're going to take care of him, and in the team. And that's really what it came down to. It was like, he wanted to make sure that people were taken care of. So
he's very cool.
Had a good spot.
Yeah.
So before that, Mark, what was your background?
I wasn't boating, that's for sure. I was a recreational boater. I loved to boat. I boated all the time. I had owned 2 Bajas, and actually 4 Bajas, but 3 new ones that I bought from Brett Manier. And I was building data centers. I had a data center company that I was a partner in. We both started it from scratch in 2005, and we ended up going public with that business in 2013. And I bought out at that point and said, hey, I didn't want to be part of a public company. I wanted to move on to do something else. And that's when I got into the boating side and with Brett. So, and I'd already started with Brett in 2011. So that's when we really started Performance Boat Center, was 2011. But we didn't do the new site until I bought the land in the fall of 2013, end of 2013, and we started building, and then opened our first building in summer of 2014. So to me and Brett, that's kind of the start of everything. That's when we really got things started. Was at that point in time in 14. So I
Wow.
consider this next summer of 2024, which is really our 10 years. That's the big year for me.
Yeah.
Being 10 years into it at the new site.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So
Yeah.
I had to learn the business. Brett knew his side of the business. Myrick knew his side of the business. We've hired a lot of other guys that know their side of the business, and really I had to learn the business. So I spent a lot of time learning the business and understanding what it's all about and how it works. And then the business changed on us too. I mean, you think about it. It was a performance boating was dying back in 2008, 2009. All the dealerships went away. Manufacturers were having problems. They were trying to figure out what to go to. They started looking at performance center consoles and so forth. So everything was changing. I mean, it was a whole different world back then. We were trying to figure out what to sell, even as a starting company. In 2011, we were more of a V-bottom company. We didn't do a lot of catamarans, and that was one of the reasons we wanted to get Myrick involved with the business, is because we felt like, and I talked about this earlier, but basically, I asked Brett one time. I said, "Well, who are the top catamaran guys that understand that technology in the country?" And Myrick was one of the names. So and then also he would happen to be at the lake. So at that point I'm like, I got to meet Myrick. I got to understand that. I think he's critical to our future, which he has been. He's been huge to our future. So that all started back then when we tried to put everything together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then not only the catamaran V-bottom, the outboard craze, because that changed
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you go from, because I remember that. I mean, I remember going from being like boat racer guy, and then as I was boat racer guy, that the Verado L6 was just becoming the hottest new thing. And I really didn't know that much about it. And then when getting back, oh, hey, your sponsorship's over, you got to go back to work on everybody's boat. It was like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? I don't know anything about this. But then, the learning curve wasn't that hard, because the L6 was like the greatest engine ever, and they didn't break. So that being the Verado, and other than maintaining it, and then going out and everybody having all this fun on their center consoles, and then the performance boat became the center console, and then not too long after that, all of us at Performance Boat Center, Brett, Mark, and I, were like, this outboard cat thing's going to be big, and since then it was only 2 or 3 of us at the time, and now there's probably 8 or 10 of us, that are out there doing
growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mark,
there's been so many changes. Yeah.
You've done an amazing job, obviously, surrounding yourself with what arguably the best in the industry, and obviously grown Performance Boat Center into almost a powerhouse there at the lake. I was just making a list earlier. You got Performance Boat Center, right? You got Redhead Yacht Club. You got Lakeside Grill, High Tide.
Yep.
Roxy's down on the Strip, and now the Cave. I mean, you're just playing Monopoly out there and winning.
Well, it was interesting because when we started Performance Boat Center, and we started the land I bought down on the water, my theory was that, hey, we're going to be down on the water, and we don't have a land site, meaning something out on the Strip and something where everybody drives by, because all the marinas, all the boat sales at the lake, everything has something on land you drive by, and that's how they sold boats. And so I felt like, hey, we're in the back of a cove that nobody knows about anymore. It's an old marina cove, and how do I bring people to it? Well, let's build a restaurant. And so the whole idea was to build a restaurant. I was going to build something small, and the guy I hired, which was Elmo, which a lot of people know Elmo.
He's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, he ran originally Shooters 21. Well, he understood the business at the lake, and so I hired him, but he needed a full-time job all year round. So we said, let's build something bigger that can be all year round. And that's when we decided to make Redhead an all-year-round facility and make it a bigger facility. So really, over the last 10 years, I've learned a lot about the restaurant business, which I knew nothing about. and I have a great crew of people that do, and we've just kind of grown that because we have the people that understand it and the people that understand how to run it at the lake and how the lake runs,
Yeah.
and that's worked well. I don't think I would ever venture into a restaurant or bars in other cities and towns because I just don't know it well enough. But
Yeah.
I feel comfortable here at the lake.
Yeah, I mean, it's always our first stop whenever we go there, and it's never not empty. So it's it's an awesome place with great food, great atmosphere. And then the high tide is something that came afterwards, an
Yeah, High
adult
Tide
style
came
pool.
3 years ago. We decided to add an adult-only pool area, mainly because we were having a conflict with Redhead, which has a pool, but it's a small pool, and it'd be people. Some people wanted us to make it more adult. Some people wanted us to make it more family, and so we said, you know what? Let's just leave Redhead more family, and then have a separate pool somewhere else that would be more of an adult pool, and that's where High Tide came about.
Yeah, and that's super fun too. I mean,
Yeah.
if you guys haven't been there, you guys got to check that one out too.
It's funny. My perspective is that I've been there a few times, but I basically am only a couple hundred yards from it all the time. I hear it nonstop,
All day.
and yeah, all day because it's funny. It's almost it's right there, so you hear everything that's going on because the service shop's right there, and everybody's like, "So what's it like?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. It was happening today. I could hear it happening up there. Not that I was up there, but I could hear it happening. But pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like background radio. It's like you hear it all day.
Yeah."
That's great. And then your latest venture, Mark, is Performance Powerboats, which now you
Yeah.
two are co-owners of,
Correct.
including Brett Manier.
Yep, including
Tell
Brett.
us
Yep,
about that.
exactly. Well, it, I'll go about a little bit back about the history with performance. We've had this issue, I'll say issue, but it's a strategy from early on, so probably 7, 8 years ago, which was we would try to work with manufacturers. Well, the manufacturers all want to do direct and sell direct. All of them that we work with do. And we tried to get people not to and to use us as a true dealer type scenario, and people wouldn't do that. Well, we kept investing and still do invest so much money in the dealership and Performance Boat Center. We were like, well, what happens if everybody pulls the rug out from under us? What happens if manufacturers say, no, we're not going to use you? And then you don't have anything to sell. So you have all this investment in this that you have nothing to sell. So we've been for years looking at opportunities to be more involved with manufacturing just because of that one reason. So ultimately, I never really wanted to be in manufacturing, but I've been forced into manufacturing because I need to make sure I have product for my business, Performance Boat Center, to sell.
Control your destiny.
Yeah, to have some control of the destiny. And dealing with that's something I've learned dealing with different manufacturers over the years. I mean, we've dealt with Statement, we've dealt with Outer Limits, we've dealt with Skater, we've dealt with
Cigarette,
and so selling their products and working with them and understanding where they're at and what they're doing. And you can't fault them for not wanting to sell directly also, because they were kind of forced into it also during the downturn. Some used dealers early on and that went away. So it became a little bit of an uphill battle for us to figure out how do we work with these companies from that perspective. So what we think we're good at from a Performance Boat Center is working with customers and making sure the customer's happy with their product and making sure the customer's happy keeping that product running. And we've always talked about that in the past, is that our most important thing for a customer is to make sure that customer, when that day he goes to use that boat, it's available for him and he can actually use it and it works for him. And that's it. So understanding that, we've had to get into manufacturing. I would prefer not to be in manufacturing, but Performance Powerboats came about with, a lot of people understand this, but with our relationship with Doug Wright, back in 2016, we started working with him on the design of the 35, which we ended up calling the 36. He was already into the bottom design and a bunch of other things there. And we said, hey, we really want to focus on the outboard market, not the inboard market. And so that boat became an outboard boat. And our first one came to the market in August of 2017. Then, ultimately, there was a whole bunch of minutiae was occurred between Doug Wright and Cigarette, and it looked like that whole product was going away from us, was going away. That gets back to what we talked about before, which we were concerned with, which is, what if we lose our product? What if we lose manufacturers? And so that all went away. So basically, Doug Wright went away for us. Ultimately, Cigarette went away from us, and we were sitting there saying, well, what do we do? You know, we're left with MTI and we're left with Sensation. Is that going to be enough boats for us to sell? And that's what we were concerned about, was we wouldn't have enough boats. So so we went on to design our continue to design our own product from the 420. We think that's a really great sizing, if you will, in the marketplace. We've made some changes to the 360. We'll continue to make changes to the 360. We bought molds for a 28-foot boat that we haven't released yet. We're still working on that, and continue with the manufacturing side of that, of the outboard classes on the cats. And our goal is really just, you know, we don't sit back and say we're going to be the largest manufacturer of anything, but our goal is that from a Performance Powerboats is to have a quality product that we think is you know, top notch in that class, and be able to sit there and say that we're supporting selling the top 2 or 3 products in that marketplace. So we can say a guy, if he wants an MTI and wants to do an MTI 44, 39, absolutely, and we've sold lots of them. Or if the guy says, I really don't want to be in an MTI, I want to be in something different, which occurs, and we have an option for him to be able to do something different. But at the end of the day, it comes down to paying bills. It's how do you pay the bills. So.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, we had our first experience with that 420 in August when we were there for Shootout Week, and boy, what a beauty that is. Bob Teague, our testing driver, got a chance to drive it, and he was just, you know, over the moon about it. And obviously, you know, you guys have the best people. So the production is in Texas, and then it comes back to Lake of the Ozarks.
Correct.
Where you guys rig it there at your facility.
Correct. All of our production of the hull itself all occurs in Texas, in Houston, and then the boat shows up at the lake, and then at our facility here, our paint facility and rigging facility, everything happens here at the lake, and then it's finally delivered here at the lake for the customer.
Yeah.
It's a perfect scenario when it comes to that. Yeah, it's crazy when I go to even our South Florida location. I realize how spoiled we are with our facility at Lake of the Ozarks as far as testing the boat, because all these products, to get the maximum performance, maximum everything out of them, it takes testing, and I'm spoiled when it comes to that with the facility, because you can test it 3 or 4 times with different drive height, different propellers before 10 o'clock, and
Right.
somewhere else it might take all day to achieve that. So you can get a lot of stuff done quickly doing that.
So, I mean, Mark, with all your input, and obviously having Mark bring you on for the cats, how much fine tuning did you have to do to get that 420 just perfect?
There's little changes that we've made since the original design with the Dougs, and it's mostly characteristics about getting on plane where the boat would lock up and cavitate and then take a little bit longer to release. So changes in the back of the boat. Obviously, the deck is completely retooled because we wanted a bigger cockpit. We wanted flatter areas around the edge. We wanted troughs around all of the hatches so that when water gets on it, it doesn't drain in the boat. It drains out the boat. And to do that it's mind-blowing how much it takes. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this one part that you're then going to pop a mold off of, and not counting the time and all that it took to design it in the first place. And then with the changing of the deck and all of that, you have the changing of stringers, bulkheads, all of these different things that you really don't think of when you look at it from the outside. You notice it as a mechanic or somebody that's climbing around the inside, and you want the fitment to be perfect, because you don't want voids, and you don't want areas where the boat has to have too much of glue or too much of an open area that you have to fill with glass. You want it to be all tight and then tabbed with very little amount of material, because it keeps the weight down and it makes the boat that much stronger and much more rigid. And rigid being not something like when you hit that you notice that it's rigid is when you hit and it just feels solid, to where when the boat isn't rigid, when you hit, you'll feel like a reverberation or just a little shake, and it's nice when you don't feel that. And the first 420 was definitely that. Next one's just made it up and should be to us at the end of next week. And the more we do, the better we get. So let's keep going.
Yep. Yeah, and like I said before, we're not looking to try to build, 40, 50 boats. I think if we can get to the point we're building a dozen and a half or so, that we'll feel comfortable that we're adding enough inventory to Performance Boat Center that we can keep, excuse me, keep and sustain our business.
Yeah.
Mark, what was your opinion when you took a ride in that 420?
Oh, it's amazing. It's just amazing. The first 442 that we got from Doug, we really noticed the ride. We had a lot of characteristics we didn't like on the deck, but not the ride was there. We had a few changes that, like Myrick mentioned, that we had to make on the bottom, but ultimately, by making those changes, making the change at the top, and then, quite frankly, just making a solid boat. It's a very, very solid boat.
That's a big part.
And so that we know our customers are out there and 3-4 footers all the time on that Lake of the Ozarks. You've been in there on a Saturday, and a lot of these guys with the cats are like, well, they can't go take their boat out because it's too rough. And so we wanted a boat that we felt like that the guy, if he really wants to go for a ride, he can go for a ride. He feels safe and he can sit there and go 80, 90 miles an hour over the waves.
Yeah. Especially when you get these boats that are bigger like this, they're able to go faster in bigger water. So that adds the perspective of the boat having to be stronger, because if it's not strong and you're running that much harder. I remember when Mark was in one of the 420s and out of the 360, and it was a pretty rough day, and he came around me and I'm like, man, I'm running as hard as I can in this 360, and he still went around me. But he was actually running the boat harder, but it didn't feel like he was. So, the boat was taking probably a little bit more abuse. So you got to make it that much stronger. We've been working with Oscar a lot, even just having meetings about laminate schedules and things like that, and how much glass to put them in and where to put it to make it stronger. So it's a cool process that a lot of people, a lot of different opinions, and you just got to make it right and do the right thing. That's what Mark always says. He goes, what's the right thing? You do it. So especially when it comes to, like, if we've had a problem in the shop or something to where it might be our fault. Was it our fault? Yeah, it is. Fix it. So it's one of those things.
It's happened. Yeah.
Happens to everybody on that many boats. It's inevitable.
Yeah, right. And that's a beautiful boat. And again, we
thank you. I appreciate it.
We saw it in August, and you guys are taking it down to Key West, which is next week.
Yeah. It'll leave and go on the it'll go. It was at Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, and then it'll go to the Poker Run. I think it was on Thursday on the Poker Run down to Key West, and it'll be displayed down in Key West for demos. We have our own private slip this year for the demos, so we're looking forward to that. So we don't have to worry about kind of the rigmarole of having all the boats together and so forth. We'll be able to take demos whenever we want to. So we're pretty excited.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit closer to Dante's, but still in that same area there by the Conch Republic.
Yeah,
correct.
And I guess that's a perk of being title sponsor to the event, right?
Yeah. Larry definitely helped us out on that one.
Yeah. He was commenting on it last time when we had the podcast. Yeah, you needed. I mean, as much money as we pay to be the title sponsor, there better be some perks,
right? Yeah. Larry Blau told us that he had to evict a shrimp boat so to make room for all you guys.
Yeah. Apparently that caused some issues. We didn't realize that was going to cause any issues, but apparently it caused some issues.
So along with the Performance Powerboat 420, you guys are also taking down a Sensation 40 CCX and a 32 CCX.
Correct. In the water, and we'll have a 32 CCX on land also for people to see. That's probably one of our most popular boats that we sell the most of is the 32. Yeah. So we probably sell 95% of the 32s that Sensation makes.
It's such a great boat. You're right. I mean,
it is. It's
just
mind blowing.
For that size boat, it's a great everyday boat. It just is. So, and then people have realized that, and that's why the boat's popular.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, just the other day before the weather got cold here, and the customer was an all black one, and it was had a demo on it last Saturday, and I was able to just go a couple coves down and pick it up and take it to work. And it's for as many boats that I drive and all the different perspectives to have this boat that's I know there's still a couple $100,000 to $400,000. This one being used was less, but it's mind blowing to me. I'm still impressed with it, and this thing has 280 hours on it, and it still feels like the day that it came off the showroom floor. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Another cool thing though is they don't rest on their laurels. They just seem to keep improving, making finer tweaks and making things
Right.
look cooler and keep evolving the boat.
Convenience of the
Mhm.
boat, it make it more user friendly for boating. Sensations did a great job with all their products of improving over the years, those type of aspects of the boat. So,
Yeah.
and when I talk to the people, the people in manufacturing and stuff, they're looking for those things. They get excited when they can add a new feature to the boat. So they
Yeah.
bring up ideas to sensation management all the time.
Yeah, I've been in some of those meetings and they're like, "Really? They want that?" And and I mean, one was as simple as a pump out head instead of a head that was just kind of instead of an emergency head to where you had to take it
Right.
out and dump it out. And we're like, "Yeah, they want to be able to pump it out. They don't want to have to carry that thing out." And they're like, "Oh, we didn't realize that." And next thing you know, every one of them has it that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
or just a little compartment for a garbage can that's easier to get to, to where you can
Yeah.
throw your empty water bottle or whatever. It's simple. It's one thing MTI has done that's amazing.
MTI's done an exceptional job on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
they
Randy
keep
and
raising
them,
the bar as well.
they go boating a lot. And
Yeah. You can tell when a boat's manufactured by boaters. You
Right.
really
Yeah.
can. So
yeah, it's pretty neat.
So Mark, I mean, you enjoy the Sensation so much that you're now a part owner of the company.
Yeah, I dove in. Yeah. Well, they had an opportunity and they contacted me. They knew we were one of the biggest, retailers, and I had interest just because I wanted to put input into the product and make sure that they survive and become a bigger and higher quality company as they can grow. And this just gave me the opportunity to help them with that side of things. So I spend right now I'm spending quite a bit more time with them just because we're working on some growth strategies. But excuse me. But the guys are really great to work with. Joe and Wayne and Kyle are just awesome. So
Yeah. And they've got a nice young crew that they're put, since Joe and Wayne aren't in there for every bit of day to day, they've got a nice young crew that's really trying their best to make their product better. And
they're all super tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? They're all tall.
Suckers.
For you two, that's really a hard thing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hurts my neck talking to the Sensation guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all like that. Everybody.
That's funny.
And of course, the reason we're all going to Key West next week is for the Offshore World Championships, which Myrick is your driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're excited about that. It's gone so fast. I say it's gone fast from the first time Myrick and I actually talked about racing together to now. It's almost a blur, and there's so much that's happened over those years, but it's almost a blur.
Yeah. February of 2015, he called me and told me, "Hey, I bought you a 388 skater. Now you got to go win." At the boat show.
Yeah.
He went and talked to Pete. I remember
That's
getting
funny.
a call.
So-
He goes, "Hey, I bought a 388 skater." And I'm like, "Oh man, sounds like a lot of work."
and it was.
Yeah, we made it to the race there in Key West for our first race at the end of the season there, and we learned a lot that weekend. We got our ass kicked, and then we came back and put it on them for a few years. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah.
Johnny in the cockpit with you from the get-go, or
No, it was actually Lance Sutton and
Randy-
I.
Well, Lance
Yeah.
Sutton started. Yep.
Yep.
And what about Randy Kent?
Randy Kent was in
Or
the
you raced with Randy? Randy
raced
Kent,
with
another
Randy.
boat. That was the year before.
because you were sponsoring. Yeah,
That's right.
him,
Sponsored a boat.
and we were
You
in
and
the. It was a 44, but they cut the bustle off, so it actually had the same running surface as a 42.
So the first year in the
MTI.
skater was with Lance.
Yeah,
And that was his first time ever racing in that style of boat. So he was learning a lot. Mark's learning a lot about the boat. And so after about 3 races, they both kind of were wide-eyed going, holy shit, we got some work to do.
Yeah.
And they went back at it. And I think the next year we ended up being national champions. So
yeah, it was.
yeah.
It was a lot.
right here, right?
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. a good boat. It's still out there as a competitor, and
Yep.
it's been through some,
It's a good
different
boat.
people's hands, and things went 200 plus miles an hour with some big power. And yeah, it was a good boat. But we've went through a lot of races. I mean, if you count stock class, there was at one time in stock class that we had 18 straight podiums in a row, and we got in
Wow.
that class not even realized we were going to do it. We just basically we were trying to tie Doug up to quit building 32s for everybody else and build more 360s for us. So we said, hey, build us a 32 and take your time on it, and next thing you know, we got a 32 race boat sitting there, and it was sitting there for a couple months. And then Mark goes, hey, there's a Cocoa Beach race coming up. Like, I want the stock boat to be in it. And we're like, really? Okay. I guess we'll do it.
Well, that
And
first year we ran the MTI and the stock
Yeah.
boats. We were running Super Cat and stock together, and we quickly realized that was a lot of work. And
especially
so
when
that's when
two new boats at the same
two new
time.
boats, learning two new boats, figuring out two new boats, new racers. That's when we pulled Rusty into the racing side and asked him if he wanted to be involved in racing. And so you had Johnny, Myrick, and Rusty all racing those two boats.
Yeah. And then it went from me throttle. I mean, and it came to a point to where we were kind of getting third, second, and we were like, what can we do to be faster? And it ended up me going to driver and him going. And I mean, there's a lot of meetings that people don't see, or just Mark and I talking like we are right now. And well, I was out with him, and I can drive a little bit better than I can throttle, and he can throttle good. So okay, let's try it. And then we win that next race. It's like, well, that was an interesting turn of events, and stuff like that. So pretty cool.
It's like anything. You try so many things on the boat itself. You try things with the racers and move them around. It's like you just, how do you get there to be it? And honestly, I'm so proud of what those guys have all accomplished. Over the years they've accomplished so much, and they put a whole lot of blood, sweat, and tears and stuff into it. So I can be nothing more than happy. Even when we get have bad days racing, you got to remember all the good days racing, because you're always going to have a bad day racing.
Yeah.
We were coming in at dark last night, and Mark's standing in the parking lot. He goes, well, how'd it go? Because we were putting the stock boat back together to go down to Key West to give it our shot again. So and it's a lot of the time I go, it feels good. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's running, and hope it, and most of the time that's what we're doing. I mean, we do try to pick up a little second here or there, but most of the time we're just trying to keep it, especially going into Key West, make sure that all of the parts and pieces are at like brand new quality. So
because you've
it's
been
such a unique event.
Yeah.
It's such a unique event. You kind of prepare for Key West different than you compare for the other races.
Yeah, for sure. And your current sponsor is FASS Diesel Fuel Systems.
Correct.
So it's Performance Boat Center, FASS Diesel Fuel Systems, and they've been on board with you for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So,
they've been great.
Yeah, they are. And Brad is he's a boater. I mean, before he was kind of a cruiser boater that everybody saw around, but now he's bought multiple cats from us. And I mean, I don't know. He's out there doing it every day in the summertime. So
and he loves the competition. He loves to be part of it and see it. And so he gets just as excited as we get about it, which is awesome.
Yeah, and he really likes to fly his personal boat. Like
fly, literally fly. Literally fly.
Yeah. He actually admitted to me the other day. He goes, I run that thing pretty hard. Yeah, I know. I've seen the pictures.
We all know.
We all know.
Yeah.
So what is Performance's plan down in Key West?
Win
the races. Hopefully our supported boats also win. So we have other boats that we're trying to make win also. So
SV Offshore, MCon, in both MCons.
Both MCons.
Yeah, Monster Energy. So I mean, and Greg went up to Michigan last week and put the new engines in for Vinny and SV Offshore, and then basically today we are loading a lot of extra parts, that we can support customers down there. not only that, I it sent different propellers for customer boats that are coming down. We had just re-rigged a 50V, took the 450s off, put 500s on. So, not only are we thinking about racing, we're thinking about all the boats that are coming down from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, even some of them, like Sean Long's coming from the west coast of Florida, and they'll all converge down there. And it's a performance boat, so things happen. So we got to try to be prepared for things. So our South Florida team will come in, and they will be basically down there at the Conch Republic or any of the marinas where the boats are docked, going over to do their due diligence to make sure the boat's ready to go boating, either for the week while they're down there to do different events.
Right.
A lot of the time it depends on the weather, what they're going to do, or just to, go back home. So there's a lot more that goes into than you think. I mean, we've had meetings about it, and the amount of money that Mark and Performance Boat Center spend on just lodging in Key West to keep our crew there and to sell T-shirts and to go boat racing is mind blowing, because it's not a cheap place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody knows racing's not an inexpensive sport. It doesn't pay to race. So everybody has a reason to race. Whether it's marketing or competition, or bragging rights. But at the end of the day, it is a cool group of people, right?
Yeah.
The people themselves, the racers, are really unique individuals, and I really appreciate being around them and seeing them and so forth. And the camaraderie around everybody is really really cool to see. So
It is.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, everybody uses the term family, but it really is. I mean, you can go through any of those pits and be like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And we've talked about it before, but yeah, it's a close knit. Obviously, there's when the green flag drops, everybody
Yeah.
goes at it, but
yeah.
never do you think I'm going to take them out or anything like that. So
Right. So Mark, you mentioned several different reasons why to continue racing. What's your main reason?
Well, honestly, the reason we started racing in the first place was to get notoriety of performance, so who performance is, especially in Florida. And I think we've accomplished a lot of that through racing. And then, ultimately after racing, we ended up opening our center in Florida also. And I expect us to grow and do more in the Florida markets over the next, call it 3 to 5 years. But at the end of the day, it keeps our name relevant, I guess, in the industry, and helps keep us involved.
Yeah.
And there is some advantage of it from the staffing perspective of it gets people excited about it, and the staff get excited about it, and they look forward to it and being part of it, even though it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because they do everybody that's part of the racing puts more hours than anybody else in. They just do.
Sure.
Because they have to do their full-time job they're already doing, and then they got to, after they're done with the full-time job, okay, now we're going to work on the race boat, or we're going to work on this and so forth. So that's the hard part. But we are getting challenged a lot. We've had several different other racing organizations contact us and want us to support their race teams, and we just can't. It pulls our people away during the time of year when we're so busy at the lake. So then you have a 4th of July weekend, which is one of our busiest weekends at the lake, and I have everybody off wanting to race. So we've had to actually say no to some people that we can't help support them just because of that scenario. And at the end of the day, we have hundreds of boats here at the lake that we support, and people count on us. And what I really don't want to have happen is that those boats pull in to get fixed, and we say, well, sorry, everybody's racing, we'll get to it next week.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't want to be in that scenario. So for me, the key is not to let racing overburden our ability to support our customers.
Sure.
One of the reasons we went to Superstock, because more at the time, it was an easier boat to maintain than a Super Cat. You're not changing engines as much, things like that. So it was a better fit at the time, not spending as much money on it. And like Mark said before, it literally doesn't get worked on during the day most of the time. It's usually in the evenings or after hours or on a Saturday or something like that.
Saturday or Sunday,
Yeah. So.
And also to your point, Mark, I mean, I've hung around with Myrick quite a bit, and of course Rusty, and especially around the lake, kids and people will come up to them like they're celebrities, and they are, they're in the racing world, they're celebrities, and so the notoriety is definitely there. So that continues.
Yeah,
It's neat. It definitely is. And just for example, like I mean, unfortunately we broke it, but we were at the we were having our fun run this a few weeks ago, and Rusty took the race boat, and he took Jason Billmeyer drove it, but then when we got to the stop, it was employees and customers hopping in and out of it and going on rides. And that's one of the beauties about that, the outboard stuff, is you don't worry about the hours nearly as much, so other people can get that experience. And yeah, we did break it, but it was just a prop shaft and a prop, so it's not like anything too major other than about $4,000. But but the it's neat for people to get the perspective, because it'll blow your mind being in a capsuled boat and feel what they're capable of. It's even if you're feeling 70% of what they're capable of, it's a cool experience.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And I've been in the pits when you guys have won, and that's very exciting. And Mark, I've never seen you happier, especially when you won the championship.
Yeah.
Well, part of the winning a championship is the big piece on that is that I see all the work everybody's putting into it, right? Through the season and national championships, or the season for the world championships, and that their hearts are in it and everything. So when you actually do have that, have that opportunity to win it, and you accomplish that, you just can't help but be extremely happy for your people and how they've accomplished. So when like you said, when kids want to sit up and ask Rusty for a autograph, or Myrick for an autograph, it makes you proud, is what it does. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned your facility in South Florida. Tell us about that.
Well, we've got originally, in kind of history there, we bought the facility from Mindy Dollar with Dollar Offshore, and she'd been around her and her husband for a lot of years down there, and a kind of a mainstay in the Fort Lauderdale area. And that gave us a good start. And so we've been growing the service side in that for the last 3 years since we purchased that. And then been working on sales. We did a big step forward on sales with Tim Gallagher when we brought Tim Gallagher in, and he's still with us, but he's now a little bit different role. Now he's doing more just an agent on sales versus managing the office. And then we brought in just recently Jeff Corbell, who's managing the office from truly a management perspective, not necessarily a boating perspective. And I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, and he's excited. Yeah. That's cool to see that he's excited too.
Yeah.
And our service department, I feel, is as strong as it has been down there, especially with Christian leading the guys, because he's got huge potential. When he comes up and hangs with me at the lake, it's like, I'll take that guy here right now. That kind of feeling.
Yeah, we'd use him every day.
Yeah. But, down there, he's just as valuable. And he's got a lot of young men looking up to him down there that he's taken under his wing and training them. So very proud of the service department and where it's going down there.
That's very cool. Where did Jeff come from?
Jeff, I've known for years from Performance Boating. He had an Outer Limits. What was it, Myrick? 39?
Yeah, it was 39 with triple 525s and Bravos.
And he'd have their boats too, but he was always in Performance Boating. He was one of our customers. We worked with him for years and known him for years. We had a friendship with him. He had an electric company and did a bunch of things for us, even at Redhead and at Performance in the past. And when we started looking for somebody, he called and said, "Hey, I have interest," and we sit down and talk to him. And I was super excited about just his thought process around business. And thinking of things from a business perspective, and not about, this cool boat or that cool boat and so forth, which you can get enamored in, right? Sometimes you get enamored in the coolness of it all, but reality is it's a business, and you gotta make money, and you gotta run it as a business. And that's what I'm super excited about Jeff doing down there for us.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so, Tim's sailing around the world.
Yeah. What's Tim doing? I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, "Where's Waldo?"
Supposedly he's heading towards us. So in Florida. So supposedly he's going to be there soon. So
will he be in Key West?
I don't think he's going to make Key West. I don't think he's going to down there in time. I know he's working his way south, but last I heard, but I think it'll be after Key West by the time he gets down.
Gotcha.
So weather's an issue when you have a sailboat.
Oh, so he's literally on a sailboat.
Yeah, I wasn't
Yes,
joking.
he's
yeah.
literally on it's a catamaran sailboat. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. Wow.
Yeah, I kind of chuckled when they said, "Yeah, Tim's going to take a year off. He's going sailing." I'm like, "Yeah, right." And it's like, "No, we're serious." I'm like,
No, really.
"Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Is
like,
he gonna be like
oh,
Tom Hanks in Castaway, have a big long
yeah,
beard? And
yeah,
Yeah,
but he's
probably. I haven't seen him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. His son's really into sailing, and his wife has a job that she can work on the boat and then go. You know, if they come to port and she has to go to work, they can do that. But I think it was one of those things like, hey, I'm at a point in my life where I'm able to do this, and my son's only going to be this age. It's for for so long. Let's do
Yeah.
it. And I mean, I
Yeah,
admire
it's
him
a
for
once in a
that.
lifetime opportunity. I admire the
Yeah.
fact that he pulled the trigger on it. I
and
think
it's
it's
a
really
family
cool.
thing. That's cool. That's
Yeah,
a
I think it's
family
really
event.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something to have it for those three. They'll have it together forever for the rest of their lives.
Yeah,
that we
no
went and did
question.
this. So
I
I
got
think it's
4
cool.
kids. No way I'm sailing anywhere with all 4 kids. If I had
Yeah,
one,
I don't see you doing that.
Yeah, Mark,
I
you
wouldn't
told me
make
it's
him
a
away
hand,
from the dock. Be like, get off this thing.
you said it's a handful enough when you take your family out on Mark's 42.
Oh yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It's
yeah.
yeah, it's especially when it's somebody else's boat. You're like, don't touch that. Get off of that. Mark's been nice enough to let me borrow his 42V a couple times this year, and I always come back and basically I'm just like, it's my mind's blown with how cool this boat is, and
Yeah.
it's a neat deal.
Yeah, it's definitely as far as that style or size of boat, and I think everybody knows it, but MTI hit it out of the ballpark on that boat, and it's a great everyday boat. You can take it with a lot of people, just a few people. It rides so nice. It has so many options. They're just boater options. It's just a really cool boat.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
for sure. Speaking of MTI, so you guys are a dealer of MTI, and you were right next to them at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show just this past weekend. How was that for you
Right.
guys?
Good. I think seemed like traffic was as good as it's been going in and out. It was busy. Obviously, you still get the touristy traffic too that aren't necessarily interested just looking at things to see what's out there. But it was a good boat show. Had a lot of good prospects. I think MTI had a good show also. We're not really seeing a slowdown in those size boats. We thought maybe we'd see a little bit more of a slowdown, but we're really not. So I think that's good from an economy perspective. So at least feel comfortable there. We all have a lot to do over the next year or 2 years and building boats and delivering boats. But at the end of the day, I think it was a successful event. So
Nice, very cool.
Yeah.
Did you notice anything different on the vibe of what's happening with the industry or the economy?
I know what I notice is everybody asks.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed that. I did notice. From a motor perspective, you talk about the 500s came out recently, and the new 400 came out. There were, almost all the new fishing boats had 400s on them, not the 500s,
V10s.
which surprised me a little bit. Yeah, the V10s. So you can tell that that part of the industry really were grabbing a hold of the 400s really strong. And we had the 400. There are 400s going on a lot of our boats also, but it was interesting to see that. You almost think everybody always wants to go with the biggest engine no matter what, but seems like a lot of those performance-related fishing boats are really focused on the 400s right now.
I think you take a little bit of the longevity, you're adding 2 more cylinders for the V10, and then you're taking a supercharger off, so it's a little softer on your lower unit, and you can run a lower grade fuel in it. So all those things just come into play, and it's cheaper. So you take all them factors in, and you might lose. It depends on the boat, of course, but 5 to 10 miles per hour. But maybe that person doesn't care as much about that last 5 to 10 miles per hour,
Right.
and it just doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, Myrick, when are you heading down to Key West?
Tomorrow.
Wow.
Yep. So I actually go to Fort Lauderdale tomorrow, and then get with the team. And Mark, since I talked to you, the truck broke on the way to. Oh, so you heard? Yeah. So we have another truck meeting, picking the boat up in Clarksville, Tennessee, and the things of if travel. We're just like, even Mark just commented to me an hour ago back at the office. He's like, it's tough getting all this stuff there. I'm like, yep. And then next thing you know, the truck, Ian calls and goes, I think the transmission just went out of the truck. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You got it to a GM dealer. The GM dealer goes, yep, transmission, all kinds of faults on the transmission. So at that point, one of the guys from the service shop grabbed another truck, heading down there to meet up. And so we'll meet all in Fort Lauderdale on Saturday morning. Jason's been down there getting everything ready. Rusty's down there. And then we'll start moving trucks and all the stuff down to
Key West.
Move in on Saturday into Key West. And then Rusty's bringing a customer with his 50V down there that we have for sale. The customer is selling the boat, so we're going to have it in one of our spots there at the Concrete Public for sale. So and then Sunday the parade starts, and then Monday just finishing up setup and go over the boat one last time, testing Tuesday, racing Wednesday. So it'll be just like that, and we'll be out on the water doing laps. So hopefully the water isn't crazy rough, just and not just because of the guys in the boat, but the equipment. Yeah. It's just, you got three races and you got 3 races, and nothing against Key West, but it's not necessarily all the parts that you might need, down there on a little island in the middle of the ocean. It's way different than being right next to West Marine and Fort Lauderdale, big difference.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a lot of work to get everything down there, and it's amazing when you think about all the teams that have to get all their stuff down there and everything that goes down there, and you're going to the end tip, of the United States with all this stuff, right?
One of the guys in the shop asked me, so you flying down there tomorrow? You get to Key West tomorrow? I go, no, we're leaving Saturday morning. He goes, oh, it's like an hour or something from Fort Lauderdale. I'm like, no, it's 4 hours. They're like, what? And somebody who hasn't done it, they just don't realize it's that much further than Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, and stop and go traffic and one way and no passing and
45 miles an hour
lined up along the highway.
Yeah, exactly. It's a long, frustrating drive to get everything down there. And then when you get down there, you got to get through town and get everything into the pits area and so forth too. So it's a lot of work. But it's also a lot of work for Larry and his team to put the whole event together. So it's cool to see how the whole thing has grown and how it's matured and gotten better and better. And I really think that it's like I said, the camaraderie of everybody, but everybody's kind of brought it all together. The racers, Larry, the city of Key West, everybody has had to do something to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
So it's now, such a huge event for them.
Yeah. So Mark, aside from winning the races, what is your favorite part of Key West?
Oh gosh, favorite part of Key West. Honestly, it's the people. It's meeting the people. You see so many customers that I'll see once in the summer they stop by because they took a vacation at Lake of the Ozarks, or you might see them at a race and so forth. But now you get all these customers coming down there because it's a bucket list for a lot of these customers. And they're going down there and they're doing this event. The poker run down there with Stu is a huge event, and Stu does a great job supporting that event and getting people down at it. Well, then all these people go down there and they're all there. So all of a sudden Thursday night after the biggest run on Thursday, you're seeing all these people you haven't seen for a while. It's been months and months since you've seen them. You start talking stuff and honestly, you're talking boats. Everybody's talking boats. Everywhere you go, everybody's talking boats. Boat. How about this? How about that? The rumor mill, everything. I mean, you're talking about everything, and it's cool to see those people and to talk to all those people. And just kind of catch up, if you will. So to me, that's the biggest part of it. Obviously, the Key West environment is a cool environment for that type of event to be at. And then I get to Wednesday morning and I get nervous. So for the race, right? So you're kind of going through all that, and then all of a sudden Wednesday morning you're like going, oh shit, we're racing. So then you start getting nervous about it, and you start thinking about it in your head and this and that, and at the end of the day, I'll probably bother these guys more than they want to be bothered, and sometimes I think they want me to just say, Mark, shut up, we got this. So and they do. So which is awesome.
It brings up a thought in my head. It's a lot of people don't realize because he knows everything that's going on, and he'll question, and then we'll talk about it, and then he'll question, and then he'll go, okay, yeah, I think that's a good idea, and we most of the time agree at the end. But it's like we're talking drive height, propeller weight, everything you could think about with the boat when it's going into the race. And he knows everything that's going on. And but a lot of the time he has a different perspective because he'll be out on the beach where I'm at Key West isn't as much, but he'll be able to see it and like, hey, it's picking up, around this time of day it picks up like this, and it helps a lot of the time.
Yeah.
His perspective.
Help where I can. I help where I can.
Help where I can. Yeah. Brett's definitely the mascot, and Mark is the man behind the scenes, thinking about everything over and over and over and over.
So when you say Mark knows everything that's going on, do you listen to their chatter inside the cockpit with the headphones and?
Oh yeah, I'm on every race. If I can be on it, I'm on every race to hear what's going on. I rarely talk to them. If I talk to them, it's because I think I really see something that they may not be noticing. But other than that, I really talk to him. We have another employee on the race crew that he'll talk to him more about timing, where they're at on the race, how many seconds behind or ahead, and who's behind you and what side they're on and things of that nature. And so I'm mostly just listening.
Yeah. But he might be. It's very, very rare that he's not at a race, but there has been a few to where he might be at a wedding or something, mic'd up with us on his cell phone, listening to what's going on. And obviously he's able to
really
get the, yeah. Because
technology's cool.
Yeah. Technology's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Just like sitting here talking to your buddies, like they were sitting across the table from you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Having a beer.
Well, you guys know, I mean, like all the last season, I wanted to get to all the onboard recordings from Myrick and Rusty, and boy, some of the stuff they talk about and their exchanges is just comedy.
It is funny. It's like and they're good friends, but yet you'll hear that little bit of dad and son conversation, like going back and forth. It's like I said. It's like it's funny. It's funny just listening to it.
Do this.
I did.
Do it.
Did.
Bullshit, you did it.
Next
bullshit,
you did
it. Yeah, that's how I know it is. And it's not only if you're winning or if you're losing. It's if you're getting beat bad. There's usually not much talk at all. I mean, because you're just trying everything you can.
Quiet.
If you're in second, you're talking a second, third, you're talking a lot more. If you're first, you're like really focused and trying not to make a mistake. So it's a whatever up and down emotions
up and down
emotions that are it's tough.
It's literally the most competitive class in the entire field. So I mean,
it really is. It's the number of different boats that are first, second, and third. When you go back through looking through the season is different all the time, and that makes it more fun for everybody because reality is you're trying to sit back, go and say, hey, this guy here had it right today, and the other guy didn't have it right. Because in our class, it could be just a little bit. I mean, very very little change that made a difference of being first or fifth. And that little change could make the difference. So and you have some racers that are better in rough water and some racers that are better in smooth water, and you get differences from that perspective also. So it's fun. It really is fun class.
Yeah,
it's getting a little full as far as I worry about the number of boats going around the first corners, because at the end of the day, I don't want to see a whole bunch of people roll over, and I don't want to see anybody get hurt. So you worry about the number of boats going around the corner. But I think the organizations are starting to get more focused on that and help make sure that they do things that help encourage the fact that there's not going to be 10 boats in one corner.
Right. Yeah. So Myrick, do you have a strategy going into Key West for all three of your teams?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it I had a function at Kennedy School tonight, and after that, we were riding home, and Preston can drive now. So I'm actually riding in the back seat of my wife's car, and she's up front yelling at him, telling him how to drive. And I'm sitting back there I'm thinking about how you just got a podium on Wednesday and Friday, and then you control your destiny on Sunday, because out of all those laps that you do, if you're not still up in front on Sunday afternoon, you're done. So
Right.
that first lap doesn't matter. And everybody thinks that everybody's so jacked up going into that turn. And you
The
can
first
be
race Wednesday and the first turn.
Yeah, first race Wednesday, first turn. There's going to be 14 boats trying to go around the same buoy in the same spot at the same time to where, so my strategy is not get caught up in the mess and be there at the end. That's my strategy. It's exactly what I was thinking about going into coming home from Kennedy's deal, because you go in there, you wad the boat up, you get 9th, 10th place, and the guy that was being strategic goes around the outside of you all and finishes, you're out of it. So it's
finish the top 4 or 5 in that first race, and, and you're set. You can still win everything. So you don't have to be first.
We had a trim line get us in the first race last year, and it really put us in a big hole, and we weren't able to get out of it. So we got second overall. I think it was second overall, but we had to win Sunday, and we did, and we had finished fairly, I think, podiumed on Friday, but it was one of those things to where that one trim line, and I think it was a 7th or 8th place, took us out of contention for the overall win. So at least controlling our own destiny in the overall win. So anyway, so don't get caught up in the big mess, and be there on Sunday afternoon, giving it your all. That's my strategy. So,
and you support.
I know the guys that do a good job when they're in the boat, on the races. And so I'm not worried about that piece of it. They really are good communicators with each other. They know that Myrick's been in so many races over the years that he's comfortable, right? And doesn't get too overexcited about, I got to do this and I got to take the boat to the nth degree. So that part of it I don't have to worry about. What I worry about more is did we have time to even spend the time to get the boat prepped for the race? And I say, did we have time from the perspective that it ain't like we just have our race boat to get ready. We have all the other race boats that we're working on for other customers. Then we have all the other customers' boats. Like even this week, it's like Myrick has a whole bunch of projects he's been working on at the shop with all the other staff that have nothing to do with racing.
And it might be as easy as me walking through the shop to go to the bathroom, like, hey, could you come look at this? And you go up there. And right now it's pretty wild because it's cold. So it's winterizing. I mean, and you can't forget about that, because Mother Nature doesn't say, we can hold off for a week. She just comes in and crashes all the stuff. So it's like, you can't just be like, hey, we're going racing next week, you don't worry about this. Justice is on the guy's heart, and there's like 3 tractors going from the storage facilities and the outdoor storage, just constantly bringing boats in. There's guys on the water that are winterizing boats, and it's that's one of the things that when Mark said that, you just don't get to work on it all the time, and hopefully we've got it prepared, and we're prepared good enough to be a contender.
Well, you guys usually are, and so I wish you guys luck. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you for inviting me.
But thank you so much for always making us feel at home whenever we go down to the lake. It's always great to see you guys, and then even at the races, you let us
you're
stash
welcome.
all our gear.
We like to have visitors. We like to have people to come see us and see what's going on here, and lots of visitors. So we appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, good luck, guys. Wish you all luck. Mark, thank you for joining us. My bro, Myrick Coil. This has been another episode of the Boats and Bros podcast. Please remember to like, rate, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch you on the next one. We'll see you guys in Key West,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.